life's a ride, we got no control. Twists and turns gonna take its toll.
This is a very special episode of Subject to Changes podcast. It's been a subject that me and my buddy, co-host Eric Michaelian, who is here with me right now. Hi, Eric. How you doing today?
Hey, what's up, Geno?
Not much, but this is a topic that is about, I would say, at least 13, 14 years in the making. When you and I first crossed paths, it's one of the things we talked about. Isn't that true?
These movies are actually probably responsible for our friendship.
Yeah,
It was like when I first met you, I was like, "So I hear you're into Friday the 13th."
Yeah, and it Jason Voorhees, the whole series, it makes my soul and heart warm. I grew up with these, love these films, and because we only have a couple hours or so, we are only talking about the first three, because if we talk about the whole series, we will be here probably for a good week, I would say.
I would say we have a lot to say about all of these movies, and it's the 45th anniversary of Friday the 13th Part 1, which is the Sapphire anniversary. For all of you trivia people out there.
Yeah, wow, I thought it was the leather anniversary.
No. I think you're thinking of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, that would make sense. So I will return that leather thong that I have being sent to your house. Uh,
Oh, please return that and never come up with leather for me again. Appreciate you. Love you.
love you too. Okay, so Friday the 13th, 1980, um, they Cunningham put out an ad in the newspaper with no idea of what he was going to make. He basically wanted to attract investors, wanted to capitalize off the Halloween success, and it did. It turned heads. People wanted horror, and they wanted it bad. What do you think?
Absolutely. He saw the kind of numbers that Halloween did and said, I think if we took teenagers and put them at a summer camp, summer camp in the woods, and there's a killer running around, and he's gonna stab all these counselors. It's like perfect. So he took the Halloween formula, put it in a campground, and upped the blood and gore, which time will show that was a really good move on his part.
It was, and this came out in the same area of The Burning and Madman, all three relatively similar films. The, and I think that's because at this time, uh, a lot of people went camping. It was something that most people did because you didn't have things like the internet and streaming and all this shit. You had a TV that you changed with the fucking dial on the TV, and you went outside. What else was there to do? So camping was a good idea. Eric, are you a fan of camping?
No, I'm not. I hate camping. I never want to go camping, and nobody I know should ever invite me to go camping. Most likely because of this fucking movie.
Oh, so nothing bad happened to you during a camping
No,
experience?
nothing bad happened to me on a camping experience, and it's going to stay that way. I will keep my head. Thank you very much.
Very nice. So speaking of camping, the beginning of this Friday the 13th, we have the group of people and at the camp, and they're singing. This is a common thing. We get a bunch of people together and they sing songs, and they sang the song "Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley." Are you a
Yeah.
fan of that song, and do you know the origin of it?
Actually, yeah, I do. Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley is a murder ballad about a guy who killed his lover and their unborn child. Uh, to say you're a fan of that's kind of weird, but yeah, um, it sounded pretty good. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. That was after they sang "Michael Row the Boat Ashore,"
That's right.
which
That's
was
right.
about which was a spiritual song about freed slaves.
Oh dear
And
Lord.
nothing gets camp counselors in the mood like a freed slave spiritual and a murder ballad.
Now, if you were going to pick a band to do a cover of "Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley," who would you choose?
Dropkick Murphys.
Ooh, I might go into Alien Ant Farm. One, that they aren't bad, and two, they really need work.
Yeah, they do. What was their last hit song, like 2002?
I want to say it was the Michael Jackson cover, and I want to say it was their only hit. But I might even go with Hanson because they've not been really big since Umbop.
Dude, Mbop rocks. I don't know if you've listened to that song recently. That song hits really hard.
Oh, they also have Where's the Love, which is another good song. They were talented young men.
They still are.
They still are. There you go. So we
So
get
anyway,
we
back to
get
Friday
Annie.
the 13th starts in 1958, if I'm not mistaken.
You're right.
And after listening to these songs, a couple goes up to hook up in a barn, and somebody follows them up there and murders them. We don't know
Yeah,
who, we don't know why, but that's what starts into the opening credits. Friday the 13th, smashing glass.
love
What a
it.
great opening. What a
Love it.
great opening.
And it is a great opening. It's epic. And they set the mood like the because going camping is supposed to be like a relaxing, peaceful thing. So making the setting dangerous was actually very very effective, and they don't hold back. We go right from the initial kills, which happened in '58 of the couple there that snuck off to do some shagging, if you will, as Michael Myers would say. Um, and we meet Annie. Annie's a backpacker that is working for the new or the reopening Camp Crystal Lake, and she goes to a diner
Yeah.
and she meets some very eccentric people that, especially Ralph, the guy with the bike. Yeah, going to Camp Blood, ain't ya? Good
Re-
character.
Ready?
Every
I got a
character.
good one. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
It's got a death curse.
And it does, and it's
Yeah.
jinxed. Um, I did like the fact.
Crazy Ralph. Crazy Ralph is that religious zealot who goes around saying that Camp Blood uh is cursed and you're gonna get murdered if you go there. So he's kind of really hitting on that harbinger character of like the doomsayer, which there's a few of those in this series, and Crazy Ralph is probably the best one, I would say, and certainly the original. So
Yeah,
respect to the goat, Crazy Ralph.
I prefer him to the others, and he is great. I like the fisherman's hat there, nice touch, and the bike, another nice touch.
Mhm.
They definitely made him eccentric, and one thing I liked about this movie was the trucker that gives Annie a ride didn't try any pervert stuff, because usually if you get an old guy that drives a truck, you get pervert stuff, like the guy who wore the ascot in Graduation Day when he grabbed that girl's inner thigh. You didn't see that here. That guy was all right.
I don't know. He grabbed her ass when he was helping her into the truck.
That was for
Maybe
safety.
maybe a little bit of pervert stuff. Little bit.
I didn't notice. Did he have an erection?
Well, we can have a whole bulge section for you later because I'm sure there's one that you're going to be commenting on pretty soon.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna make a statement, I learned this in my law classes, that you have to have evidence, and I think helping her in there, even if he accidentally pushed her up by her buttocks region, that doesn't scream pervert to me. That screams helpful hands.
Yeah,
Don't
I mean, he
don't
could have been a lot worse, but he wasn't. And I think it's interesting that this was it was filmed in '79, but like hitchhiking was still kind of a thing back then. And as we go into the '80s, it seems like that kind of went by the wayside because maybe people just felt less and less safe in the country. But
Yep.
like we're kind of moving out of the like relaxed '70s and into the more uptight '80s.
Yes. And the 70s was known for camping and all that other shit, all the nature stuff. Like even the women in the 70s had the beautiful long natural hair. Uh it was a The 70s had a certain style that we don't see anymore. What the hell happened? Why can't we go back to that? The 70s had a good vibe.
I don't know. I wasn't alive, man, but I'll believe whatever you say about the '70s.
It was
Mostly anything you'll say about the '70s.
Yeah, it was awesome. Well, I was born in '74, so I only know what I've seen in motion pictures. But it's good stuff. Now, so so we get Annie, who gets to a certain point. with this trucker. Trucker can only drop her off so far. So she is now on foot again, and this Jeep pulls up and picks her up, and everything is okay at first, but then it gets uneasy. And we now realize that the killer owns a Jeep, and Annie jumps out of the Jeep and gets hunted down, and we get a pretty epic kill scene with Annie. What did you think of the throat slashing? Because I thought that was pretty badass.
Yeah, I thought it was a good appetizer for sort of what's to come. It was pretty simple, but Tom Savini, who did the effects for this one and the fourth one, is he's a legend in the business, and is like, of course it's going to look good. So yeah, I would say this was a pretty good opener for her, and she was such an innocent character,
Yes,
and
she
for her to
was.
die relatively sharpish, it was pretty good shock to the system, and you just kind of say like to yourself, nobody's safe now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was. You're right about her being like very innocent. That's she just seemed like a kind soul, and the fact that there was no mercy shown on her sets further set the tone. Leading to Camp Crystal Lake, which some of the locals call Camp Blood because of the deaths. Where we have Steve, who has a '70s porn mustache that is carried over from the '70s. Alice,
Who
who
I
is
almost worked with one time, just saying.
oh damn, that
I
sucks.
was it He was supposed to be in that play I worked on with Austin Pendleton, but he dropped out last second, and I was so pissed off.
You should be. You know who I met was the guy who played Ned, the redhead guy. I met him
Oh
at
yeah.
a convention and gave him a copy of the first Rise of the Scarecrows. Um, and I'm not sure if he threw it in the trash or not or loves it, but Ned, if you're listening, or guy who played Ned, um,
Mark
I hope you
Nelson.
enjoyed it. There you go. And so this film, you have the like a formula here. The formula has begun. You got a character like Ned, who's the pranker. You got Alice, who's the kind lead, like last final girl, and you have Steve, who likes wearing a mustache and Daisy Dukes, and he had a handkerchief too. He was accessorizing before accessorizing was a thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was definitely a man of 1979, and we come to find out that he and Alice are in a bit of a relationship.
Yeah, she went. Well, you know what? At that time, you had guys like Burt Reynolds and Tom Selleck, and they sported that mustache. And a lot of women said, "Hey, I want to ride that thing." That's what they said in the '70s. I don't know if you know that.
Uh, oh, the old mustache ride. I've heard of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they've said. And actually, when they talked to the people leaving the theater, a lot of them said, "I came for the mustache and left for the ride." I heard that. I don't
Oh,
know. You didn't read that?
no, I didn't catch that. Was that in Fangoria?
That was right in page 64 of Fangoria in the 1981 issue, January. Um,
I feel like I missed
yeah,
such a good time in the early 80s.
it was a great
Uh,
time.
so we have Jack, who's obviously played by Kevin Bacon. Marcy. Um, we got Bill, who is, you know who Bill is?
I don't.
That's
Who-
Harry Crosby. That's Bing Crosby's son.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Well, I hope that he was treated well. I've heard negative things about Crosby.
So have I.
Yeah, I heard the belt is and spanking and with the belt, and you don't want that.
Well, I don't. Certainly not. If Bing Crosby spanked me, I'd be, first of all, shocked,
Yes.
and second of all, appalled.
Oh yes.
So we find
Especially
out
if he said
that
it's gonna be a bruised ass Christmas.
uh,
That would be terrible. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
so we find out that Steve Christie, who is running Camp Crystal Lake, bought it for 25 grand, and that he's been building it up for over a year. Although like when the guys get there, he immediately puts them to work, and it looks like no work has been done on this at all.
Yep.
Despite them saying that he has been working on it for a year. So Steve goes into town for supplies, and he leaves all of our young counselors alone. He calls them babes in the woods.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we get that breakdown where the legend is spoken at the fire. And this is cool because like a lot of
I think
times
that's the second one, man.
no, actually there is one here too where they
Is
talk
there?
about where Ned dresses up like Jason and jumps out.
No,
Um
that's the second one.
you sure?
Positive. That's because that's Teddy who does that in the second one, the ginger guy.
So when does Ned dress up like a Native American?
He dressed up like a Native American when the cop shows up on the motorcycle.
Oh, snap. You're right.
Yeah,
You're
you
right.
see, but this is kind of the thing with these movies is they all can really blend together because especially the first two are so similar in plot and tone
They
that
are.
like it's really easy to mix them up. Yeah, that's John Fury, who plays Paul in part 2, tells the great story of Jason.
That's right.
Because he talks about the mother being beheaded and all that jazz, and that happens in this movie.
Okay, you're right. Because now we're talking about the sheriff showing up in this one, in the first one, and the sheriff is kind of like let me look at my notes here. See, now I'm getting confused. Now we have Ned dressing up like a Native American.
Yes.
We have Ralph is now supposedly in the area because the cop is looking for Ralph, and
Yes, the motorcycle cop. Yep.
yeah, and warning them, hey, Ralph, he's kind of a dipshit. Be careful. He might bother you guys because he has a hard on for Crystal Lake, and he shows up in the pantry, which
Yes, he does.
which crazy. Now, I tell you what, if Ralph showed up in my pantry, I'm handing that guy his ass, and I could beat his ass. I know I could. Any guy in his late 60s, that then, I would fuck him up, and I would
You'd
fuck
fuck
him up
up
if
the town drunkard for showing up in your pantry.
I would, especially if he like took a box of my shake and bake. Yeah, I don't want that. That's $2.99.
I know. The grocery prices these days doesn't really account for religious zealots in your pantry, man.
Right.
So the kids all kind of just like hang around. They start putting everything together. They hang out by the lake. Now, I actually wrote this down. They're all swimming and stuff, taking a break. And I gave Kevin Bacon's Speedo a special note, and then I said, allow time for Geno bulge rant. So
Well, the
Kevin
thing is,
Bacon's bulge is on full display. Even I saw it, couldn't look away. Geno, talk about the bulge. Go.
well, I'll say this. Kevin Bacon definitely has a respectable bulge, even on big screen, and especially on big screen. Like, but I wish he would like stick to the speedos here, because I'm not sure if you saw the Invisible Man or Hollow Man, I think it was called, where he was flinging that thing around like nobody's business. That
Oh, yeah.
that that is, but hey, all the power to him. But to be honest, like I was more bothered by the love scene he had and the cameraman's insistence on getting that tight shot of Kevin Bacon's ass. It wasn't necessary. I know I watched the unrated version, but I think that cameraman should have gone a little higher. He didn't need to go that low, and get that shot. What did you think? You got a big screen. Was that too much at man ass for
No. I mean, if you're gonna have nudity, you might as well have like male and female nudity. Put 100% bacon on display. That's what I say.
fuck? And we got Strip Monopoly on display.
We got. Oh, but hey, I know this is something I noticed. Okay,
Yeah.
so going into this, I think like we talked about, I wanted to watch this as a movie and as a complete piece of cinema as opposed to something I've been watching for like 30 years. And I noticed some things. So there's one point where Ned pretends to drown, And then
Yeah.
all of the counselors run in and save him and pull him up and give him CPR. And I'm like, I hope the killer's watching this, because these counselors would have saved Jason.
Yes.
They were alert. They were tuned. I'm like, does that buy them any clemency from this murderer? I mean, the answer is obviously no. But I'm just
Right.
like, these would be good counselors. These are good counselors. So you have to respect that, like, what happened, but like, I don't think the same thing would have happened under these specific counselors. You know what I'm saying? They're good
No,
counselors.
I agree with you 100%. And something like I've noticed watching this first one especially is how much like meaningless conversation there is. Like the whole strip monopoly thing was just filler. A lot of the discussions in this don't push the story forward. As much as I love this film, watching it critically, I'm like, wow, they were just like basically filling time. And I'm really critical of films like Paranormal Activity, where
Mm.
you're just waiting for like the shock ending. And I got at like parts of this I kind of felt like that, where they didn't know what to do, so they just added like meaningless conversation, like Ned doing the was it Humphrey Bogart impression. It no, it wasn't Ned. It was the other guy. Um,
No, you're
it's
right.
like
It was Ned. Yeah,
okay,
yeah. You look really good when you're angry, sweetheart.
yeah, and I'm like
Yeah, that was Ned.
they were just throwing shit out there, and so I felt this film started out strong, kind of like got slow. Even though I thought Alice is always good no matter what. Um, and then we finally get some murders, and uh, I noticed something, and you may have noticed it too. When Kevin Bacon gets killed in this, the skin tone does not match at all from his
No, it
face to
doesn't.
his neck, and I never noticed that before. But I guess with when you watch it on VHS back in the day and on a tube TV, it blends together a lot better than it does remastered. So um, still
Yeah,
kudos.
I think the film digital can make those things very apparent, especially if you're watching it like in HD or something like that.
Yes, I agree. Marcy, I liked Marcy. Marcy is like uh incredibly beautiful. I thought Marcy was the most beautiful chick in this, and curvy as fuck. I was like, okay, you go Bacon, you got a good one there. What do you think of Marcy? I liked her. I liked the character too.
I thought she was cute. I really liked when she went into the bathroom and did that impression of Katharine Hepburn. And
Yes,
I said, Lizzie, you'll always be plain. You know, I just like, that's such a cute little thing.
yes,
Um, Unfortunately, right after she was charming, she got an axe to the face. You know.
she did, but she was like incredibly beautiful and good all around. I was happy with her. I said this is it, they cast her well, and Kevin Bacon, you could tell by the smile on his face he was not hating the role he had here either. Um, okay, that's enough, I guess, of me saying how hot she is. Um, but we go to a diner, and Steve is there, and Steve is getting some play from that old waitress. Uh, what do you think? Do you think he was banging her on the side?
I think she got a sight of Christie that night. Everybody wants a mustache, right? Like you said, man.
There you go. I rest my case. Um, and I think that happens a lot. Like waitresses, um, they typically, they're lonely because they work late hours, and they got all these guys coming in. Eventually, if they stay at a place long enough, they become a an older waitress where the guys aren't knocking down the door anymore. And you see a guy with a mustache, and you say, "Hey, I'm gonna give it a shot." And so Sandy, the waitress, she gave it a shot, and I think
She
he
she
should have
missed.
given her. Yeah, she missed. But he may have banged her in the bathroom. I didn't get the extended cut. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, you watched the unrated cut. I watched the theatrical version.
Oh yeah, so I got to see all the blood and shit. The
Hmm.
the axe right through Marcy's head. Yes. Um. So now
Oh,
we're
and
going. Oh, go ahead.
how about Brenda? Poor Brenda.
Brenda.
Another Brenda was the girl at the archery.
Oh
Yeah.
no. Yes. Yes. I didn't catch
I'm
her name, but yes.
big Brenda fan. Another instance there where she's alone in her cabin, she's reading, and she hears a little child cry out, help me" in the rain, and she goes out to check on him. Like another instance where like you got attentive counselors that would
Yep.
hear the help me," they would go check on it, they would go do something, but unfortunately, Brenda gets killed. She gets killed off screen. We don't really see what happens to her until the end.
Yeah. I
Big
liked
fan
her
of
too.
Brenda.
Yeah, I liked her a lot too. And it is very easy to confuse these characters, because
Yes.
like I'm even as I'm thinking of her, I'm thinking of Vera from the third one, and I'm like, okay, no, that's not Vera. But
Or
I like,
Terry from the second one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, they do kind of blend together quite easily. But we get I think the film really picks up now. The killer's on the loose. Bodies are everywhere. Everywhere Alice turns, she sees a dead body. No matter where she goes, there's
Yeah.
and even Steve, when Steve was killed, right when she walked up, he fucking fell upside down from the tree. So she's going crazy. Everyone's dead, and a jeep pulls up, and she thinks she's rescued, and it's Pamela Voorhees um, that is there. And Pamela comes out like a hero. I'm gonna find out what's going on. She runs in the cabin, and we get by far, in my opinion, the best part of this film. The Pamela Alice scenes are just epic. What did you think of Pamela and Alice in this finale?
Um, I think because I saw this so young, like,
Hmm.
and now you sort of you don't trust anybody that shows up in the third act of a movie,
Right.
But at the time when she came out, you're just like, oh, it's just like a sweet old lady. Oh, thank God, just like get in the Jeep and go.
Right.
But then she comes in and she does her monologue and stuff, and you kind of get this creeping, dreading feeling something's wrong. And she plays it pretty well up until she does the monologue. But yeah, I thought that she really um hit these scenes very well. It's just like I'm just like I'm Mrs. Voorhees, and I used to work here. I'm a friend of the Christies. Like let's go look at these. Like let's go look at the bodies in the cabin. Everything's gonna be okay. I'm not afraid. It's like yeah, but I am. Like I'm pissing myself. Let's please get in your car and go.
I
You know,
I loved it. And
yeah. The scenes were great. The scenes
that
were great.
they were, and I thought when she changed tones, when she was like, "Look what you did to him," and then she did that deep, "Look what you did to him," and I'm like, "Holy crap, is she scary?" And and I'm not typically scared of an elderly woman, but there she got me. Um, and so they're fighting, and we get some fantastic back and forth. Alice is very good, like as the final good guy in this thing, and it leads to an epic ending for Pamela Voorhees with the machete blasting off her head. Where if you're gonna kill a bad guy, beheading him is the way to go. Um, what did you think of the girl fight at the end, and what did you think of the ending of Mrs. Voorhees?
I thought for an older woman, she looked really strong. Like it was acting obviously, but like she just looked like she was manhandling Adrian King,
Yes.
and her slamming her head on the in the sand was great, and it just like it looked real and it looked visceral. And then yeah, when she breaks away, she grabs a machete and cuts off her head, and then you see obviously a man's hands like
Sure.
waving in front of them. They're all
Yep.
like dark haired, hairy knuckles.
Yes.
But yeah, I just like that's how you kill a killer, man. Like if you want to be safe, cut the fucking head off. And wow, power. I mean, I didn't, because I watched a lot of these on TV when I was a kid. I didn't see that, the severed head like
Sure.
flailing around. But when I finally did see it, it's a really good effect. You can't really beat practical effects for stuff like that. And Tom Savini doing it, you got yourself a winner. What a awesome, awesome fight. What did you think of the fight?
Oh, I loved it. I was actually watching it and then rewinding parts of it. I loved when Mrs. Voorhees was talking to Jason and Jason was talking back in her head. Like her son dying completely fucked up her world. Like she said, my only child, and obviously Mr. Voorhees wasn't in the picture, and it's like her life fell apart. And so the fact that Jason in her head was speaking to her was great, and she was brutally strong. Like she looked tough, and it just worked. It was a very well cast, great choreographed fight, and I love the slow motion, which is another thing that they go back to, where Alice is running with the machete, and you get Pamela's expression of like, "Oh fuck," and there goes the head. Loved it, great stuff, and it leads to what
A
scared the
really,
living.
yeah,
Dude, I saw this when I was like 10 years old, and I just changed the channel, and it was Alice on the Lake, and I didn't even know what I was watching, and it was my first exposure to Friday the 13th, and
that was it.
that was it. Yep. So I'm watching because it's peaceful music. Alice is on a canoe. Everything's nice. It's during the day, and then all of a sudden, the zombified body of a young Jason jumps out of the lake and drags her in. Um, what was your first memory of that scene, and how did it hit you?
I think it was I of that particular scene. I think it was on a Friday the 13th where they were doing a like a marathon,
Yep.
and this was, I think, no, it was like I don't know, one of the ones I only watched all the way through. I think my first one I ever saw was part 5 all the way through.
Okay. Yep.
But this one was the next one I saw all the way through. And like, yeah, like what a surprise that he popped out. Like, I've never really been terrified of these movies, but that got me. And so much so, like, I went to a showing, like a midnight showing in South Hadley, and I took my friends who had never seen the movie before,
Mm-hmm.
and like it was a packed house, and Alice is in the water and all the music is playing and it's swelling, and my friends are like, can we go, I'm like, can we go, I'm like, yeah, hold on, just like it's almost over, just like, hang on a second.
Yep.
And then the Jason pops out, and my friend's just like, oh, holy hell. And like scream, and I'm like, through the whole theater, I was like, that is such a satisfying scare, and just like a great little stinger on the movie.
Oh my God, yes. It's so good. And even the ending beyond that, where Alice is being interviewed and she's like, "What about the boy?" And then, well, he's still down there then. And it does leave some room for more story to be told. And considering that Friday the 13th was made on $500,000 and made $40 million, you knew there was a sequel. But how do you make a sequel to a film where the killer was beheaded, outside of bringing back Jason completely, which is Friday the 13th, Part 2, 1981.
Yeah,
We start with flashbacks.
they had. Well, first of all, let's quickly talk about how we felt about. How did you feel about the movie overall? Friday the
Oh,
13th Part 1.
y- okay. Friday the 13th, Part 1, mixed bag. Nostalgia wise, 10 out of 10. Um, But the beginning very strong, the middle weak, the ending very strong. So I think they didn't even know what they had or what to do with it. It was basically a throwaway film, I think, for them, not realizing what it would do. So I, I I think it obviously could have been written way better, and then but the ending, how do you lose with that ending? It's a very cool ending. The beginning sets the tone, so I highly recommend this. I really like it, and I was happy to watch it again so closely. So yeah, still love it. Could be better, but I'm not going to take too many jabs at it. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, technically, it like on a technical level, it's a pretty shit movie. Like the camera's inconsistent. Like it's like, you could tell like these people didn't make a lot of movies. It wasn't shot very well. Like you said, it kind of drags in the middle. There's like a whole scene where like Alice makes coffee in real time, and like Bill checks the generator in real time,
Yes.
and so like obviously watch it. It's a classic. It's a seminal movie for sure because it was like Burning and Madman, and they all copied Friday the 13th. But yeah, don't expect like a well-made movie. It's just it's a fun movie. It's a fun movie, and what this movie did not do very well, Friday the 13th Part 2 did very well.
And I know
Let's talk about
yes.
Friday the 13th Part 2.
I know Friday the 13th Part 2 is one of your favorites of the series.
It
And
is.
I watched it, and I have to say, like, one, we do start with the flashbacks. We start with um, Alice in her home, and they have a kid outside that's playing in the puddles at night,
In Waterbury, Connecticut, I'll have you know.
Waterbury, Connecticut, and you have the foot of Jason stepping down, but we don't know it's Jason yet, but obviously it must be. And Alice finds, like, she has the nightmare flashbacks. They really had, like, I think 5 minutes worth of flashbacks to start this film, leading to Alice waking up from the nightmare, going to her kitchen, and finding Pamela Voorhees' head in her fridge. Now, I found that odd. Why do you think Jason put the head in the fridge like that?
I think as a symbolic gesture. Why the fridge? I don't know. Because you never know when she's gonna like go into the fridge, but you know, she's gotta have food eventually, right?
And I would think that'd be terrible because you ever have like chicken go bad in your fridge? If it's just in there for a day, it smells up the fridge. So
Oh yeah.
that severed head had to really
It's
smell bad.
yeah, it's like 2 months old at this point as well. But just think, Jason carried that whole thing from Crystal Lake to wherever the fuck she was living there, and just like holding on to a severed head the whole time. I mean, that takes dedication. Would you ever take your mother's severed head and put it in somebody's refrigerator?
Depends. If they ask me nicely, I might. It would be up to them really. I wouldn't impose it. But if they said that's what I want some head, I might think about it. Um,
Oh, good. I
um,
think it's also important to note, like they're probably like it started with a recap, and like the next 2 and 3s definitely do recap most of the end of the movie previous, but that's probably because there was no like a lot of VHS back then, so like the
yeah.
last time that people might have seen it was last year, so it's like, hey, remember this?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because yeah, it's not things weren't nearly as accessible, and this was pre-video store too, I think, or at least in the infancy
Yeah.
of video stores. And Jason does something that's kind of out of character, but he's not established at this point. But you look back and you say, Jason wouldn't do that. He calls up Alice and hangs up. That's not a Jason move, in my opinion.
No,
What do you think?
I'm not sure that that was related. I think that was just like a set, like just another thing happening,
Okay,
because
yep.
where would Jason's in the house? Where would he have called her from?
Well, people have called from in the house. Remember Black Christmas? Don't answer the phone. Maybe they were emulating that.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so
After Jason, Alice finds Jason's mother's head inside their fridge. He takes an ice pick, puts it through her head, and Jason, the nice guy that he is, takes her boiling kettle off the oven. And
that's yeah, and he pets a cat, doesn't he?
no, that's Thanksgiving.
Oh, I thought there was a cat there. No,
There is
maybe
a
I'm
cat.
wrong.
Someone literally throws a cat through the window. Like that
Yes,
cat did not jump. It was tossed into the window for a little jump scare.
that's right. That always happens. The ejecting cats in horror films. Um, so now we're
But
back.
the credits explode onto the screen, so we're in for a bigger budgeted movie than a little bit of glass shattering.
We are. This one had over twice the budget of
Mhm.
the first, and it did about half the business. But it's still a huge hit, doing $21 million on a $1 million budget.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's what, literally 21 times its budget? Sure.
Yeah, I would take it. Yeah, I'll definitely take that. You get a couple that show up and they get their car towed immediately, and it's kind of a joke. And they end up at Camp Crystal Lake with the new group of counselors 5 years after the Pamela incident. And we have Paul, who's running the show, and Jenny. And Jenny, I forget what the actress's name is, but
Amy
sh
Steele.
yes, and she is fucking amazing in this. Like she makes this movie. Her delivery is so much better than the rest of the cast. Um, I found her to be one of like the best characters in actually the entire franchise. It's a shame they didn't bring her back.
Her, yeah, I think her and Paul together are probably my favorite couple in these movies. Paul, Paul is such a he's so good in this movie. John Fury is so good in this role as Paul. He's funny, he's charming, he's witty, he's very sarcastic. Like he's probably my favorite final guy. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously outside of Tommy Jarvis, but like like this guy just completely fulfilled this role, and his chemistry with Amy Steele is so good.
it is. And the we talked about the conversation that they had over the fire. Um, and there may not be a better campfire story in a film than this one. Um,
Yeah.
what did you think of Paul telling the Jason Voorhees story and the silly ending to it where Rex dresses like Jason? What did you think?
Ted. Yeah.
Well, oh, it's
Um
Ted. Why I call him
yeah,
Rex?
it's like I don't know. The first guy's name is Ned. This guy's name is Ted. I can see where you get those two confused.
Yeah, I get all fucked up. Okay.
Um this is such like the quintessential uh campfire story, which is, I mean, basically what these movies are. They're supposed to be campfire stories, and just like
Yeah.
this is, I think, where you see the directing is so much better than the first movie, and the camera work is so much better because it's just like they slowly push in and they just like let John Fury tell this story about Camp Blood from 5 years ago. The mother was beheaded. Jason is drowned, but some people say he's still out there. Like he delivers it so well, and it's
He
such a
does.
good pace. It's almost like ASMR.
Yep.
And yeah, I think this is the best campfire scene, I think, in any movie.
The only one that I would put in the same area code would be Madman. I like
Yeah.
Madman as well. With Max saying, "Now it's time for my story. He was a wicked man." Good stuff. And but this one, obviously, I think is slightly better. So we have the lore of Jason said, and also the reason why he's not dead in the lake. He got out of the lake. The Pamela never realized it, and he began living in the woods. And and so now we have another killer, and this is Baghead Hillbilly Jason.
Yeah.
What do you think of Baghead Hillbilly Jason?
I thought he looked cool. I like the bad head look. Obviously the hockey mask is iconic, but Baghead just as good. Just like the town that dreaded sundown. Do you ever see that one?
I did. Great movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
I,
it's a cool look, a cool visual for Jason. But I mean, hockey mask is the money.
it is. It is. And you got the group of campers, and they're all enjoying each other's company. They're kind of having a good time, playing music, dancing. And you got that guy Scott who decided to dance with the dog, which I found odd. You don't dance with a dog unless you buy it dinner first. Am I right?
No, I think you can treat a dog like a dog. You don't have to feed it anything. Just objectify the dog. That's what I
Not
think.
not even one of those sausages.
Not even a snostage, buddy. They don't deserve it.
Oh, jeez. I
And also, again, Paul and Ginny are a couple, and they're hooking up behind everyone's back. And did you catch when she said, "Paul, I think I need to tell you something"? Did you catch what she was talking about?
Remind me, I'm not sure.
So they're about to hook up, and Ginny goes, "Paul, I need to tell you something," and he's like kind of quiets her down and just like, no, don't even worry about it. And they never find out what it is. But did you catch it?
Oh no, was she pregnant?
No, that's what everybody thinks. That's what everyone thinks. But I want to dispel this right now in case you are a fan. So earlier in the movie, Paul says, there's a lot of bears out here, so keep food. Don't have food
Yes,
fights. Don't leave
yes,
things out. And he goes, and women stay clean during your menstrual cycles. And
yes.
then on the mirror, he writes in lipstick, like, look out for bears. So she was saying she was on her period.
Oh shit. Okay, no, I
But
did not catch that.
everyone I've talked to says they think that she was pregnant or something like that. But I was like, no, she's the complete opposite, actually.
Wow. Okay. Well, now I know. And
Now you know.
now I know. So you get Ralph is back. He's back. He's still got his fisherman's hat and the bike, but he doesn't last long in this film. He's kind of sneaking up and trying to impose himself again, but he gets killed off pretty quick. And kind of the same way it's well I was about to say as Annie did in the last one, but really wasn't. I think he got barbed wire wrapped around his neck if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he got garroted by barbed wire.
Yeah. Okay. And then you have Jeff and Sandra, who are a couple, and they're looking to shag, as I think you said earlier. Michael Myers would have said. Um, and they get caught by the sheriff, and this sheriff, he's no nonsense. He doesn't want anyone near Camp Blood, and he will chase them out literally. What did you think of the sheriff in this? Did you like his mustache as well?
I don't think he wore it as well as Steve Christie did. But this guy was so good at just playing the hillbilly, the backwoods guy, and like, Paul is like reaming out Sandra and Jeff, and he's just like, "All right, get out of here, you two." And the sheriff's like, "What? You're not even gonna reprimand him?" And he goes, and Paul's like, "No seconds on dessert for Jeff and Sandra."
That's right, and the sheriff
So
didn't like
then
that too
the
much.
so he did not. So he goes off in a huff, and he sees Jason running across the country lane, and he chases Jason through the woods. Why? I don't know. It's just a guy sort of in the woods. Why would you just start chasing him?
I think he assumed that it was more of the kids. That he didn't get a
Oh,
good
I
look
see.
at him. Because even the shot is cool, where you just barely see him run across the street. So I think
Mm,
the sheriff probably deals with kids that are always going to Crystal Lake, and he's always kicking them out. And he's like, "Here's another one," and that's when he stumbles across a trailer that Jason has called home. And he goes inside, looks around. It's a dump, and then he gets a hammer to the back of the head, and he makes the world's most anguished expression. Which
yeah.
kudos to that actor. He did a good job. I believed a hammer was dug into his head.
Yeah, I mean, his face contorted in such a great way. Although that's the second like law enforcement officer that gets a hammer in the head in 1981. There was one in Halloween 2 as well.
Yes, yes, that's right. It was pop. It was trending, as they'd say. Um,
Yeah. Also,
now
did
you
you notice that was the only time that anyone's ever chased Jason? That's the only time Jason's ever ran away from somebody.
you're right. And this was hillbilly Jason, not real Jason. Well, it is real Jason, but it's not zombie Jason, which is the one most people know, or
Yeah.
mutant Jason.
This is the good Jason.
This is the wrong turn sort of Jason. Um, and so we get Scott, the dog fondler. Um, he sees Tara swimming naked in the lake.
Oh, well, so what happens is the campers all decide that they're all going to go out to the bar for like one last hurrah, and a bunch of them elect to stay behind. So you got Jeff and Sandra, you got Scott and Terry, who is just like, how gorgeous is Terry?
Unbelievably,
Oh my
unbelievably.
God. Um, You got Mark, the fella in the wheelchair,
Yes.
and Vicky. Vicky decides to stay back as well. So you got
Yep.
a few people who stay behind, and everybody else goes away. All right. And Terry
Yeah,
decides she's going to go swimming. Go ahead.
and so this is a big thing, you know. She's there, she's by herself, she gets naked, jumps in the lake, as people do. And Scott, obviously he was done doing whatever he was doing with the dog, sneaks over and grabs her clothing, so she has to come out naked, and now he's kind of teasing her, and she's chasing him, and he ends up getting caught in a trap, and now he's hanging upside down. And in my opinion, she didn't get angry enough. She called him a pervert, and she agreed to cut him down. But Scott, she had no interest in Scott. She didn't want to dance with him, and now he's becoming a peeping Tom or peeping Scott, if you will. And I think she should have got like her boyfriend or another guy to kick the shit out of this guy. What do you think?
I always kind of took it as like she had a bit of a crush on him, just like wouldn't admit it. So like
Yeah.
it was like yeah, like he was a scumbag for like spying on her, but I always got the impression that it was just like, oh, you little scamp, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she was, I never thought that she was really that angry at him,
Oh yeah.
and he's just hanging there and he's helpless and he's kind of he's paying for it.
Well, yeah. Have you ever hung upside down with a boner?
Hung upside down? No.
No.
I can't say that I have. I was also kind of wondering how those. Do you know how those traps work? Like, how do you get caught up in those things? Have you ever
I,
seen one in real life? It's like
I've
the little leg snare where it like pulls you up into the air and you're like hanging upside down, like from a
yeah.
tree.
I'm not sure how it works either. I'm not sure if you need to have an erection to make it work. But I yeah, it has to do some. I mean, oh god, I'm not sure how they tie it down to where just a little bit of pressure, you're roped in and flipped up. But apparently they do exist and they do work. But for Scott here, it worked like a charm, and he's upside down, and he wants to get some, and I think Tara's like, I'm gonna cut him down, and like I think you're right. I think there was some uh loving there, and unfortunately, Scott doesn't get what he wants. He's I believe the very next victim of Hillbilly Jason, and it was a pretty good kill. What do you think?
Yeah, he hung him up. He was hanging upside down, and Jason comes and slits his throat with a machete. It was a pretty good effect. Filmed rather simply and done rather well. So yeah, I would say it was very effective.
Yeah, and then we get
Also,
Tara.
how bad do you feel for Terry having to swim in that water? Because they film these things like somewhere between October and February, right?
Yes.
Like, oh, how terrible must that be? And
Well,
if you look really closely in some of these shots, you can actually see the actors like breath. And oh, I feel so bad for them.
at one point I would feel bad, but now you see like those Russian guys that cut the ice and they jump in naked, and then you get the athletes that take ice baths. So, and they say it's good for the blood flow and good for the heart. So maybe it's uncomfortable, but in the end it was healthy. So I don't feel so bad anymore. And God bless these films, because these films had no issue of asking their beautiful women to go skinny dipping, which became very popular in this series. Um, so God bless her, and she dies next, unfortunately.
She dies off screen, and they immediately cut to a guitar. I was like, and she's killed by the power of rock and roll.
You get uh like I brought up Jenny before. When they're at the diner or the bar there, Jenny talks about Jason and about him actually existing, and her delivery of this dialogue is so good, where she's like, he could just be this slow guy in the wilderness and doesn't know anything, and he can't comprehend what's happening. I thought her delivery of the dialogue and the dialogue itself was quite good.
Yeah, the like I said with her and Paul and even Ned there, like just like the way their dialogue flowed and these three actors together, like like I think this is like my favorite cast of this whole series.
Mhm.
These were like the best. They had the most chemistry. These were the best actors, and they all just kind of bounced off each other so well. Especially in this scene with Ginny, Paul, and Ted. Like it just everybody was like on top of their game in this one. You know.
Yes, I totally agree. I think even like the side, like I liked Mark, the wheelchair bound guy. And Vicky, she didn't care if he was paralyzed from the waist down as long as something else worked. She made that quite clear, and that's a pretty good break from Mark because I would think like Mark would have been like, I'm not going to get anyone because of the presumptions that if a guy's in a wheelchair, his dick don't work. And in this one, Vicky's fucking beautiful. Were you kind of surprised that they threw a guy in a wheelchair into this film in a romantic sort of capacity?
In a romantic capacity, no. I was just like, yeah, I think watching this the first time, I'm like, oh, they're not gonna do that to a guy in a wheelchair, are they? Like he's gonna get away, right? And like,
Yep.
and when they said, all right, guys, we're all going into town, I was like, well, Mark's gonna go. He's not gonna go. Oh my God, Mark, go. You know,
And
it just
they don't just kill Mark; they kill him in style. Uh, you have
probably the yeah, it's probably the best death in this whole movie.
you get Vicky. Now Vicky is dolling herself up, wearing those brown panties, which I guess the director liked brown panties because she showed them to the camera and then put them on. Even though I thought the panties she was wearing were sufficient, they were sexy too. Uh, but she wanted to impress
Yeah, there's
Mark.
nothing like fecal matter colored panties to like
Oh my
arouse
god.
Mark.
Well, in the end, I think Mark is just happy because he's sick of jerking off in a wheelchair. You ever jerk off in a wheelchair?
I can't say I've ever had the opportunity, but thank you for asking me.
Well,
Have
I'm
you
just
ever jerked off in a wheelchair?
no, but now that I'm thinking about it, if I were to, I would be afraid of bruising up my elbows with those metal bars because you need a little bit of wiggle room if you're going to really get into it. And I'm
No, it's all in
guessing,
the wrist, man.
you
You're
think
doing it
so?
wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all yeah.
It's not the
It's about
angle of the
technique,
dangle?
bro.
Oh,
No,
technique.
it's not. Especially.
You could
Oh,
teach a
I've
class.
been doing it wrong all these years.
You could teach a class. Um, now we have.
Your wheelchair and you.
Y- that should be a class. Even though I'm not wheelchair bound, I would sign up for it. Um, so Vicky is now ready for loving. You got Jeff and Sandra ready for loving, and poor Mark. He hears a noise, rolls forward, and gets a machete straight in the face. And then, if that didn't kill him, flying downstairs backwards 18 flights would do the trick. You called it the best death in the film. I agree with you. That even though the death of Sandra and Jeff seemed to get more attention with the spear through both of them, I go wheelchair death all the way too. Um, what did you think of the 18 stories of stairs?
Well, I don't think that camp is ADA compliant, but the like he got he went to, it was just like such a well shot, death. I think it's a better shot than Sandra and Jeff's death, which we'll get to in a sec. But like, yeah, he just goes tumbling down the wheelchair and just like it's obviously a body in a wheelchair, like a fake body, but just like the way that it like hit the railing and like it tumbled down and like pounded into the side, like I was just like,
Oh,
that is so fucking cool. And you
it
have to
was
wonder how many
epic.
takes that took to get.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, it probably took a bunch because you got to get it right. The fake body probably fell out a bunch of times, but fuck, what a cool kill! And now
Hmm.
leading to Jeff and Sandra in bed together. And this scene was a ripoff of Torso. Did you know that?
I did know that. I think a lot of these deaths are kind of straight out of giallo films.
Yeah, I like Torso. I think Torso's a badass film. Even though I prefer this. Um,
Yes.
so the scene is Jason comes up with the spear, and Jeff is on top doing his business, And Sandra's face seeing Baghead Hillbilly Jason coming down with the spear, quite awesome. It goes through both of them, kills both of them, and now we kind of have more repeat of the first one. This time with Jenny and Paul coming back and dead bodies falling from trees and being all over the place. But there was a big difference here that I really appreciated. It was an awesome couple of lines from Jenny when Paul and her go into the room and find the dead bodies, and she's like, "Paul, somebody's in this room." And he
Mm.
looks at her and she goes, "Somebody's in this fucking room." And like her delivery, I'm like, "Holy crap, that was good." And Jason comes out and Jason and Paul fight and she doesn't know what's going on. And Jason pops up and Paul's, you think, is dead. He chases her out of the house and she hides behind the tree. And what does she do to Jason that has never happened before or since?
She kicks him in the nards.
Loved it. Fucking
Nobody's ever thought of that. Like, wow, so smart.
eat that,
But
you fucking hillbilly.
Ginny is at the end of this movie. This is the Ginny show, and she does not disappoint, man. She is one of the best final girls in the history of horror movies. Why
Uh,
she's never in the conversation with like, Laurie Strode or anyone like that, like or
yeah.
Nev Campbell, Sidney Prescott,
Yep.
like she should be. She's so good in this movie.
And the thing about her, what sets her apart from all the others, is one, she can act her ass off. She is a wonderful actress. But two, she's got a look where she's beautiful and plain at the same time, and
Mm.
it just works. She looks like a girl you know, and when you get a actress like that in a film that's relatable and can deliver, but is also beautiful. It just works. It's a very fine balance of talent that came together with Jenny, and it is a shame because she could be tough and vulnerable at the same time. And what I thought, like I was a fan of Alice in the first film, but she didn't bring what Jenny brought at all, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree. She's smart. She's capable. Um, she again, like when she's coming up with all these things, like you believe that she's just like, oh fuck, okay, like I got to get out this window, and if I let go of this doorknob, if I let go, he might come in, and it's like you can watch her put these things together and like watch the inner math going on of the situation, and I think she was just so good at portraying that without like overacting, and like you believed that she was this smart and tactical.
You know what? You just made a good point of the overacting. She took this role very seriously and acted very seriously. I guarantee you, like she looked at it like, well, how would I deal with this if it really happened? And that's what came across. Like the other characters, like Paul was great too, but the other characters, yeah, I mean, I think everyone was good, but she was just so invested in this role, and it shows. It is a shame that they didn't bring her back again because I'm not sure if she did anything beyond this, but she had
Yeah.
major talent.
She was in I wrote it down what she was in. Uh
Was it
Jenny
April
Amy Still.
Fool's
She was
Day?
in April Fool's Day,
That's right.
and
That's right.
a little known show that I loved as a kid, Time Tracks.
Oh
Do
my,
you
I've
remember
never
Time
heard of it.
Tracks with Dale Midkiff?
No,
He
no.
was like a cop from the future sent back in time, and he had to like get convicts who were doing like time crimes and stuff like that, and he had a little keychain which he could send them back in time with lasers and stuff. It was awesome.
That sounds badass. That sounds better than Small Wonder. You remember that show?
Oh yeah, little girl robot. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean that guy making a little girl robot, but that's another story. Um, so we get
So Ginny goes into a cabin and hides. Now this has been a great debate with me and my other friends. So Ginny's under the bed. Jason comes in. A rat comes up in front of Ginny, and
yes,
then a puddle of urine comes out from under the bed. I still maintain the rat peed, but people disagree and say Ginny peed. Who do you think left that trail of urine on the floor?
It had to be Ginny because of the amount of pee. No rat can piss a gallon.
Yeah,
Um,
but the like all of her urine would have been caught like in her pants, right? Like it would have absorbed into her pants. It couldn't have been her.
the only thing I could think of is that she was wearing crotchless panties and crotchless jeans.
I did
Um,
that. No, there's no evidence for that. That does not that does not bear out. I still maintain it's the rat.
it could be the rat, but then there's another. If it was Jenny, did she piss her pants because of the rat, or was it fear of Jason, or is it a double fear of rats and Jason? I don't know.
Oh, that would make me pee myself for sure. But Jason fakes her out, and
Yes.
she thinks he's left the cabin, and she comes out from under the bed, and Jason's standing on a chair holding a pitchfork. That clever son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's not the dummy hillbilly idiot cocksucker that they've made him out to be.
No, but Ginny goes and grabs a motherfucking chainsaw. When just
I
like
love
a
it.
like a really well shot scene, because she just comes out of the chainsaw, and like the guy who's playing Jason, Steve Dash, is like just like kind of cowering backwards in fear. It's just such a cool shot, and Ginny's like completely emasculated him,
Uh, I love
And
that
then she
shot so much.
yeah, and then she smashes a chair over his back, WWE style.
There's your BB. Yeah, well, that's what I say. And
So Jenny,
yeah,
Jenny Jenny takes off into the woods, and she finds Jason's shack, and we find out what's in there, and it's a shrine with Jason's mother's severed head surrounded by candles and the dead bodies of her friends. Now, Jenny gets a bright idea. She puts on Jason's mother's sweater, which happens to be sitting there, and Jenny like manipulates poor Jason's mental health struggles.
she
How did
does.
you feel about her portraying Jason's mother, saying, "Jason, get on your knees. I'm gonna give you a reward." What did you think of that?
One, when I tell someone to get on their knees, I'm gonna give you a reward. I fucking mean it. But secondly, in this, um, with I liked it. I liked her, like it feeds into her character and how her approach to the character, that she is very intelligent, and she understands that Jason is not. And she ran out of options. Like, what is she going to do? She knows the history of Jason, that he loved his mother. He obviously knows she's dead. Found her severed head, worships her severed head, and her options are to fight Jason and lose, or to throw this at the wall and see if it sticks. And it worked because Jason was confused, looked at her, saw his mother, and before he knew it, Paul's back. He gets ambushed, and now it's on. And now we get some more slow motion machete shit, and Jason gets his ass handed to him. I liked it.
That's like your favorite phrase.
Yeah, I use it a lot. Uh,
Yeah, and I think they set it up pretty well, because they said that she has a background in child psychology,
that's
like,
right.
and so she kind of figured he has the mind of a child, so she uses child psychology on him. It's pretty good. Then Paul shows up. They get into a fight, and I don't know about you, but it's taken me years to figure out how this whole thing happened, where she comes back behind Jason as he's fighting with Paul, and she hits him what always to me looked like she hits him on the back of the neck.
Yes.
But then, like, when they cut back to the front, he's basically got the machete going like sliced through his shoulder from top down. And like I
Yeah.
don't see the physics, the way it's not shot very well. It's very poorly lit. And so it looks weird. But did
It did.
you always understand what happened in that hit?
I never really thought about it. I do see what you're saying. I just realized there was like an impact, and that she took
Yeah.
him out. And but what I don't get after watching this, and maybe you can educate me, the dog that Scott was dancing with, that Sandra and Jeff found dead earlier, is now alive again. What am I missing?
Mm, muffin.
Muffin.
Here's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. So they come back from Jason's shack. They find their way into a cabin. Muffin, Terry's dog, which was thought to be murdered by Jason earlier in the movie,
Yep.
comes in through the door. And then, as they're relaxing and having the nice music playing, Jason pops in through the window and grabs Ginny without his sack on, and he looks like a deformed hillbilly crazy person, which must have been the inspiration for Wrong Turn.
Yes.
And Jason grabs her and pulls her through the window.
Loved it.
But then cut to Ginny going away in an ambulance, calling out Paul's name. And then she's taken away in an ambulance. So here's my theory.
Yep.
Because Jason's shack is still fucked up from the fight, that I think is real.
Yep.
Jason in the next one is on the floor of his cabin. So he never came through the window.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think the window and the dog coming back to life is a dream.
Oh, that would make sense.
And maybe Paul was killed.
Like Paul never came back.
Paul came back and fought with Jason, but Jason killed him there. Because if you look at it close enough, it looks like Jason hits him with a pickaxe before Ginny hits him with the machete. So maybe Paul was killed there. The fight happened. She, quote, killed Jason.
Yeah.
And then goes back, and then the police come, and she's just having like a dream, or she kind of collapsed or something. That's what makes sense from watching it this time with like a thinking cap on. So, I mean, these movies are like they're not very well thought out. So, especially from movie to movie. So, I think that Paul probably died during the fight. Ginny got Jason, and she was taken away. I've never heard a definitive interpretation of what happened in the end of that movie. But that's what I think happened.
That makes sense if you look at the ending and you look at the dog coming back. I agree with you. I think that's most likely is that she was traumatized and kind of like this stuff just happened in her head because she was still thinking about Jason. And yeah, and also she did see what Jason looked like by lifting up the mask when he was killed. So to create the idea of him launching through a window without the mask probably made sense to her. So I think you're right. Now I know you love this movie. What do you think about after the big rewatch of Friday the 13th Part 2?
I think this is one of the best in the series. The cast really carries this movie, which basically was a retelling of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's much better directed. I don't think Sean Cunningham is a good director, but Steve Miner is a great director. Are you familiar with the rest of his work?
I am not. I might know what they are, but I'm not.
He did
sure.
Day of the Dead remake, Lake
Nice.
Placid. Do you remember that one?
I love that.
Halloween H2O.
Okay.
My Father the Hero. So you got your Gerard Depardieu action in there.
Gerard Depardieu. He is underrated and is a superstar. Much love, Gerard Depardieu.
Yeah. So Steve Miner is like a pretty hard, pretty heavy hitting director in his own right. I think he was just the right choice for these movies. And I think it was really on display in this one. It's really well shot, really technically sound. The camera work is so much better. The lighting is so much better. The ambiance, like sort of like the acting. I think this movie is just so far superior to the first one that I can see why you would get them confused, because you really you want to remember the first movie as a great movie, but it's always this movie that you remember as being the great one. So yeah, I think it's one of the best in the series, especially now that I've watched it with a movie analytical eye. Yep. Yeah, totally recommend Friday the 13th Part 2. And if I don't even think you have to really watch the first one in order to get the second one, because they play basically the entire ending of the first one in this.
Yes, and that was a
So
popular thing because Rocky did it too. Where he,
yeah.
um, yeah,
So Geno, what did you think upon rewatching Friday the 13th Part 2?
I liked it a lot more than I did. I've always liked it, but I've considered it a weaker entry, and I don't think I do that anymore because Jenny being this like real character, and you brought up Jason like quivering as she's attacking him. I love that. Um, it's it's got the stuff you would expect. It's got some empty characters like Sandra and Jeff are forgettable, even though he plays a harmonica. And the Mark and Vicky are barely in it, but they're okay. But overall, the bread and butter is Paul and Jenny. They sell the film. I actually enjoyed this far more than the first one. And even the ending, they could have stopped with Jason getting killed in his shack, and they threw in, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have him jump through the window? And it was cool. It was fucking badass. So, like the film very much. It's definitely, like you said, you don't have to watch the first to understand, but I would still watch it first. What the
Yeah,
hell?
watch the first. It's a classic. Yeah, you should.
Yeah, and then this one is the quality is so much better. The twice the budget they were able to just and I also they also kind of understood what they had. They said what resonated, let's just hit repeat and just step it up. Better actors, better writing, better cinematography, better direction, and let's see what we got. And now we no longer have grandma, we now have a guy, a strong guy hillbilly, and people love strong guy crazy hillbillies for the most part. So yeah, I recommend it. And now, before we get to the third and final entry in this show, Eric, our 2 minute movie review. We always give Eric 2 minutes or so to talk about a movie that he's watched and enlighten us on some new production or something that he holds dear to his heart. Eric, what do you have in store for us this time?
I've seen a few. I saw Clown in a Cornfield by Eli Craig. It was a pretty slow to get into. The second act kind of ramped it up a bit, and then the third act was actually pretty fucking dope. So I would recommend it. It's a pretty good clown slasher film. I watched a movie called Heart Eyes, which is on Netflix. It was directed by Josh Rubin.
Hmm.
Like this movie, if you haven't watched it, is fucking hysterical. It's much more of a send up of rom-coms than it is slasher movies, but the slasher stuff is pretty prevalent in it.
Nice.
It was just a genuinely funny movie that I appreciated as someone who loves like slasher films and romantic comedies. Like you pick up on all the little tropes and stuff like this. It was just fucking great. Watch
Nice.
Heart Eyes. It's on Netflix. Everybody should watch it. And let's talk about our buddy, Doug Plumatello, who
Yes.
directed a great movie called Halloween Candy. This is a really fun Halloween anthology series, much in the same vein as like Trick or Treat. It's about a woman who's sitting at home on a Halloween night and she's handing out candy, but she's trying to come up with something to write. And every time she goes to the door and a new trick or treater shows up, she gets an idea for a story based on their costume or based on like, someone who's like standing in the street and stuff. This movie is beautifully shot. It's beautifully written. It's got some like really clever storytelling that like you think you're walking into a scene and you think you're viewing it one way, and then it completely flips the script and you're like, oh shit, like that, oh, like I didn't see that, I didn't see that
Yep.
coming. And like I think Doug is like visually just such a heavy hitter director, man. I want to see him do more. I want to see him do well, and not just because he's our friend,
Yep.
but because like I genuinely want to see more like classic horror movies like this. Like the fun anthology Halloween movies are always a good time, And Doug found a way to like come up with some really clever storytelling. So definitely check it out. It's on Tubi and Amazon. It's called Halloween Candy by Doug Plumatello.
And Doug is a shining star, and he's one of the very nice guys in the business. Very talented. Love the dude. Great dude. And yeah, definitely support Doug. Watch the film. The guy is super talented. And yeah. And I'm gonna stray from our format a little bit here, Eric. Would you mind if I did a 1 minute movie review myself?
Oh, I'll start the timer right now, my friend. I want to hear it.
Okay, so I watched A Working Man with Jason Statham, and I was a big fan of The Beekeeper. I thought, and I'm actually a big fan of his work, Blitz, Crank. This guy is good. This guy can save the action genre. So I watched a Working Man where he is a working man at a construction site, and he works for this family that's kind of taking him in, and they have a younger daughter who's college aged, and she goes out and she gets kidnapped Taken style. And so now he has to make a decision of going back to his old ways. So he was a former like sort of like SEAL guy for the British intelligence, kick-ass guy. He starts beating people's asses, and he's gonna find her wherever she is. And he also has his young daughter that he wants to gain custody of after his wife's death, and she's kind of like tied up with the grandfather. So he goes and he goes this big elitist building where you have all these rich, super rich people that like sex trafficking because that's what rich people love apparently. And he kicks ass, rescues her, and saves the day as you would expect. The thing is with a working man is as much as I like Statham, this film was a mixed bag. It was really good at times where the magic was there that was so prevalent in Beekeeper, but there were too many villains. You had the Russian mob, you had some like hired hitmen, you had rogue fringe mob members that were disconnected but still in Statham's world, and you had a pimp that had an army of guys that were trying to kill Statham. There was too much going on here. So if you saw The Beekeeper and you love it, check this one out. If you like Statham, check this one out. But it's not one of his best ones. I still reluctantly recommend it, but it's take or leave sort of Statham.
Where can
There.
they watch it?
You can watch it. I rented it on Amazon. It's currently in that stage. It is coming to Blu-ray next month if you're a collector. But currently it is only for rental, and it's one of those still at the movie. So we're gonna bend you over on the price rental for $20. I don't think it's worth $20. I would wait until it gets down to that $3.99 thing and rent
Mhm.
it if you like Statham. And there is stuff to like in this film. It's not bad. But
Yeah.
it's definitely go Beekeeper if you've not seen either.
Yeah, I mean, I've loved his work since like fucking Lock, Stock, and The Transporter and Snatch and all that. He's just a great fucking actor.
He is, and he's believable, and he
Mm,
just seems like a real badass. And
he is a real badass.
yeah, he is. I even like him in the Expendables. So he's good there too. Um, all right, so Friday the 13th, Part 3, also known as Friday the 13th 3D, because 3D was a big thing. After watching this, do you believe that they mastered 3D at this point?
I mean, this was certainly a new system of 3D that they invented for this. In fact, I think they had to spend a whole lot of extra money on training like projectionists and like redoing certain screens for this movie. So, yeah, I mean, they invented a whole new technology for it. So I would think so. But personally, I can't see 3D, so it's always been lost on me, you know.
Oh no, I watched this in 3D. Um, I actually have the glasses, and on my Blu-ray set, it gave me the option. So I decided to do it. It was quite fun, even though the 3D was less than impressive with the yo-yo and the eyeball and the end of the rake. But yeah,
Holy shit. Yeah. This
yeah,
this movie suffers from 3D-itis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it got the 3D, and like you learn pretty quickly that like, oh, we're just gonna keep doing this and it's gonna be awkward.
It was, but it was a cool gimmick. I think I had fun with it, and I had fun with Jaws 2 3D. Like I like 3D. I think it's kind of fun. And granted, they could have used it better with Jason actually jumping off the screen would have been cool. But I'll take what I can get. You want to shove a rake in my face, Harold? Do it. Um, and that's where we start with this film, right? We get a little bit of recap again, which is now becoming a thing, and we get Harold and his annoying, obnoxious bitch wife that is giving him a rash of shit. Um, what did you think of Harold, his mustache, and his complete bitch, obnoxious wife?
um, I kind of agreed with her. I was on her side. I mean, they clearly took like a 25-year-old actress and like ugged her up a little bit
They
and
did.
paired him with this 45-year-old man. And she's got the curlers in, and she's like, Harold, I told you need to go on a diet.
Yes.
And yeah, I thought it was fine. But it's like, okay, so we're going from like the sort of subtlety of the actors in the first one to like cartoon characters in this one. Because
Yes.
Harold and Edna own a convenience store, and Harold is just going through like eating all the shit on the shelves. But to be fair, like if I owned a convenience store, I would probably eat all my shit too.
Yeah.
Um,
And he
so
also he took a shit in it too, which
yeah, there's a lot of that in this movie.
yeah, and I was hoping he would do that ooh baby, hey baby thing that we saw in the that would be the fifth
Part
one, I
five.
believe. Part 5,
Yeah. Oh baby,
yes.
ooh baby, ooh baby, ooh baby. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if in the fifth one Harold showed up to also join in the chorus?
If he was
Since
in the adjoining outhouse.
yeah,
Hey
and
baby, oh
he didn't
baby.
he didn't wash his hands either. Did you notice?
He didn't or wipe.
Yeah, he didn't wipe or wash his hands, which that automatically says, "Hey, we're naughty. This movie's naughty." Did you feel that? Like when you watch that, did you feel naughty?
Not from that scene, no. This was the first Friday the 13th I saw unedited. Like my brother rented it for me from the video store. And so like very, secretly, and he would hide it in the house, and I would go find it. And
Yep.
so I would sneak down in the middle of the night and watch it. And I was like, it had that feeling of like, oh, this is something we're not supposed to be watching.
Yep.
And it had that like fun taboo factor. But as soon as like Harold started taking his shit, I instantly regretted like renting this movie unedited.
Oh God.
It's disgusting. So you get Harold and Edna doing different 3D things, like she's adjusting the TV antenna, and he's like trying to hang a clothesline, and it's like going in the camera, and you're like, oh, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you get the
but
van. Yeah. Go ahead.
but they get it in the end. Poor Harold gets a butcher's knife in the chest, and Edna gets a knitting needle through the back of the head.
Yeah, they started early. They said we're just gonna get a couple of uh, characters that kind of suck and get them out of the way. Just set the tone that we're gonna start killing people. But the one thing good out of these scenes was the quick glimpse of the new design of Jason, where he runs through like the clothesline sheets,
Mm.
and you can kind of see that this Jason is bigger, lankier, and he's completely bald and fucked up looking. And I love that mix. I love that's the Jason blend I like. You see it here, you see it in the fourth one, where they said, let's make Jason not hillbilly. He's given up the hillbilly lifestyle. He's got rid of the overalls. He's now wearing like I guess what a like a mechanic would wear, and he's he lost the long hair. He's bald now, and I think he looked badass. What did you think of that first shot of Jason running through the clothesline. Did you find that impactful?
I did. I thought that Jason always has cool designs. Like no matter what you say about like the makeup effects for some of the kills and stuff, Jason always looks good.
Yes.
And I think this one it's so much creepier. Well, I do prefer the look of the fourth one more. Like I know this movie in particular had two different masks. The one he wears in the beginning, the prosthetics he wears in the beginning is different from the one you see later in the movie because
Hmm.
the one in the beginning was designed by Rick Baker. And
Oh,
yeah, but then they didn't like the look of it, so they had to change it halfway through. But like you still see Rick Baker's design in the beginning of this one, and it looks really fucking cool.
it
Um,
does. It really does.
yeah,
And,
he looks like a deformed potato.
and you're right. You're right. And we in this film we see more of the bleed over of like similar things because we had Ned and Ted, who are complete obnoxious cocksuckers in the first two, and now we got the biggest obnoxious, most obnoxious, annoying shithead cocksucker, Shelley. I, if anything would drive me away from this movie, Shelley would be it. What did
Oh,
you think
I'm
of Shelley?
so glad you said that because I was like, I was thinking, I was like, I bet Gino loves Shelley, but no, he's such a fucking asshole. I know he's like a fan favorite, but like he's such a fucking dick. He's like this little incel, like
Yep.
like you know, annoying actor guy who just like plays mean tricks and is just like mean to women. Like there's one scene where like he's supposed to be like he's trying to like cozy up to Vera and
Yep.
she's just like, hey, like I'm not interested. Like we can talk. I'd like to be your friend and blah blah blah. And she goes, okay, so I'm just gonna go out and we can talk later. And he goes, yeah, talk later, bitch. And you're like, fuck you. Like
Yeah.
no wonder nobody likes you.
And look at his confidence level when he meets her. He's wearing one of those like uh, Clark Gable see-through masks, and he takes it off, and she goes, "Just be yourself." And he's like, "Would you be yourself if you look like this?" Um, Now, no chick is going to go for a guy that thinks he's a piece of shit to begin with. And like you said, he sucks. He's the equivalent of these douchebag assholes that you see on YouTube that pull pranks on people at Home Depot and shit where they throw barrels
Mm,
on them and shit. That's Shelly. Shelly sucks. I hated Shelly from minute one, and I could not wait until Shelly was taken out because he pulls that shit where at one point he does the prosthetics and make it look like his throat was cut and
mhm.
scares the fuck out of everybody, then laughs about it. This guy sucks. Why would anyone be this guy's friend?
I don't know. He said like Andy says you're my roommate and I like you. And it's like, well, yeah, so he's obviously sort of forced onto this, but he is no DJ Qualls, man. Like he does not have that kind of like fun, like loser energy. He's just kind of like a sad sack of shit. Um,
He is.
and I think maybe when I was younger, I kind of related to him a little bit, but now that I'm older, I'm just like, who the fuck wants you around? Like, you're such a dick. It'd be one thing if he was like, you know, like kind of just like he doesn't like a Glazer type of guy where it's like he's kind of stupid, he just doesn't really get it, but he's just like intentionally mean to people. And he's like, I
Yep.
just wanted you to like me. And she's like, I would if you'd stop acting like such a prick.
Yeah, you're right because he's miserable and he's angry. And
Hmm.
that doesn't work. You can't be likable if that's the case. And why he's not getting women cuz I always contend I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your situation is. You take care of yourself a little bit, and you have a little bit of confidence, and you're nice. You're gonna get somebody. Shelly is an asshole, and if he did get somebody, they would be like subservient to him. Like I could see him being like an abusive sort of prick that's just like taking advantage of some poor meek chick. At least that's how I read him. I hated Shelly. I want to punch him in the face.
Thank God we completely agree for once.
How about it was gonna happen? It took 16 fucking episodes, but we're here.
So, so Andy, Debbie, Chris, Shelly, Vera are all going to Chris's cabin, Higgins Haven, at Camp Crystal Lake. And in the back of the car, there's these two middle-aged people that are just
Yeah,
back there smoking weed. You have no idea who these people are, and you're just like, why are you hanging out with a bunch of college kids? It's like two people in their late 30s, early 40s. One of them looks like Tommy Chong,
very much.
and his 43-year-old girlfriend, Chili.
Yep.
Her name is Chili.
Oh,
Chuck and Chili.
well, this film has a lot of fucked up names, but well, yeah, you have Chuck and Chili, and then you have Ollie, Fox, and Loco as well in this film. Um, whoever wrote it definitely had a liking of fucked up names.
Yeah, that would be Martin Kit Rosser and Carol Watson. Actually, Martin Kit Rosser is Quentin Tarantino's script supervisor, so he's been script supervisor for all of Tarantino films.
Yeah.
Too bad he didn't meet Tarantino before this and been like, how do you write good characters?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. He did. I do think though, the writing's not bad. I think this film does have. It's all over the place, but I enjoyed it. I think just some of the cast was wrong. Like the guy who played Shelley, I don't know what his name is. They
Larry
could have got.
Cerner.
There you go. They could have got somebody that could have played the role and made it endearing, and they, they didn't. And then you had Rick, who was played by some weird fucking guy that just didn't seem like he was real. Like they like took a mannequin and brought it to life. Uh, what did you think of Rick? I thought Rick was terrible.
Rick's an awful person. He so Rick is Chris's, the main character's boyfriend, on and off boyfriend, and she
Yep.
invites him up to her cabin for the weekend, and he is thinking about is trying to nail Chris, and he keeps being like, hey, how come you don't sleep with me? How come you're not sleeping with me? I could have been with Mary Jo Conrad. She would have slept with me. Why aren't you sleeping with me? You know what we should do? We should set aside 1 hour in the morning and 2 hours at night to have sex. Is that cool? And like, Chris's background is she hasn't been back to this cabin in a while because she was attacked by Jason. So she's got this attack trauma, and hey, maybe she's just not comfortable getting intimate. And no shame if you want to just break up and like go out with Mary Jo Conrad or whatever. But like don't fucking hound this girl into sleeping with you, you dumb jock hillbilly motherfucker. Leave her alone. He's also like 40.
Yeah, he was a 50-year-old jock hillbilly with a fucked up haircut and a raging boner. We don't want that, and Chris didn't want that, and yeah, he was just a shit character. I didn't like him. I didn't like Shelley, as we said, and yeah, that whole thing about
Ooh,
you were raped here or nearly raped here and nearly killed here, but let's bang. That didn't work.
no. Although, what did you think? So on their way there, they meet Abel, a man lying in the middle of the street, and he's telling the kids about Jason, and he's holding an eyeball. What did you think about Abel? I have warned thee.
It was terrible. Abel was their answer to Frank. They couldn't use Frank again, so they found this guy, and
Frank?
he overplayed it. I'm sorry, Ralph.
Ralph.
He overplayed. Yeah, he overplayed it so much that it just came off way too cartoony. The eyeball was stupid. They could have made it much more subtle and better, and instead they went in that direction, and that didn't work for me either. It made no sense, and showing the eyeball to the 3D camera was rather stupid. Although, as I sat here in my living room with the lights off and my 3D glasses on, I screamed to the high heavens because I've never seen an eyeball that close. So kudos.
Well,
Not
he
really.
did something right. He was able to do something right.
He was, and, And a guy that old shoving something in my face is terrifying. Um, now we get to
So
the
they
point.
all get to Higgins Haven, and Shelly pulls another trick. Although somebody screams, and it sounds like a woman. It can't be Shelly. But and then he does another one of those like tricks where he pretends he's dead, and everybody gets pissed off at him, and he's just like, I didn't mean to. It's like, yes, you did, you dumbass. Like,
You dumb fuck.
this is why nobody wants to have sex with you. You're a piece of shit. And so
Oh
he
yeah.
and Vera go off to the convenience store to get groceries, I guess.
Yeah,
And
and
they
they
run
don't.
into the most ethnically diverse biker gang I've ever seen in my entire life, which
I was
consists of like one black man, one vaguely Hispanic woman, and a white Irish guy.
and what's weird is a white Irish guy called himself Loco, and
I
you know
know.
you would think a white guy would pick a white name, like
Yeah, just
Rocky
as
or
like
something.
yeah, just as like the cashier is racially profiling Vera because she's Hispanic. White Loco comes into the frame, and
Oh,
they harass Shelly and Vera.
wow, you made a point that I didn't see because when she said we don't accept no food stamps, I thought she was presenting food stamps. She wasn't. She said it because she was Hispanic. I didn't get
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Wow. So now you get Ollie, Fox, Fox, and Loco, the three, like you said, very diverse group. They may be assholes, but they're not racist. None of them. They love each
Yeah.
other.
Yes, they do.
And they end up. Shelly throws his wallet to Vera. She misses it, lands on the ground. Fox picks it up, and now Fox wants respect. Ask for it nicely and call me ma'am. And
Mm.
they're a bunch of assholes, but remarkably, they would have been rid of these bikers had Shelley not become even more of an asshole in this story and ran over their bikes not once but twice. Um, doesn't this make Shelley more of a villain than Jason in this fucking thing?
uh yeah, I don't like it's so weird because he hits the bike first by accident, and then uh Ali punches through the windshield, and then he runs it over again, and I think he thinks that if he took out their bikes they're not going to be able to follow them, which I mean they shouldn't, right? Like they
Yeah,
shouldn't be able to follow them, but they do somehow, and the biker gang makes its way back to the barn, and they're gonna burn down the barn, which apparently fascinates everybody in this movie because everybody goes to the barn at some point.
yeah,
And so they take all the gas out of Chris's van, and they're gonna set the barn on fire. And Fox, she wants to check out the barn before she burns it down. And so she's just kind of wandering through, like she's never been in a barn before, and she's touching everything and looking at
yeah,
saddles and like hitting canteens, and she's just exploring her world. And then just like so they're on this stealth mission to burn down the barn, but Fox, like someone's up in the rafters of the barn, and it's obviously Jason, but like she goes,
yeah.
hey, who's up there? And it's like, it's
Uh,
not your barn. Like, why are you asking? And then she goes out on the hay rope that's like on the second, then she's like swinging back and forth, and she's like, woo, this feels good. and and poor white Loco down there, or Blanco Loco down there, is like,
yeah.
hey, would you get the fuck, like, we're trying to be secretive about this, and she's like, oh, you gotta try this.
Oh God, I felt bad for White Loco because
He was just trying to hold the gang together.
he was, and he knew he needed a cool name because you got Ollie, you got Fox, and what's he gonna call himself? Bob. He needs a name. So
And
White Loco.
Thomas,
And he's,
white
I'm not
Loco
well,
Blanco.
Loco Blanco, and he has all the patches in the world on his vest. Um, poor White Loco. R.I.P. White Loco.
Yeah. So
And
Fox gets a pitchfork through the neck, and White Loco gets a pitchfork to the stomach, and like what looks really uncomfortable. It looks like he falls to his knees and then leans all the way back out of the frame, and you're just
yes.
watching him like, oh my god, is he gonna make it? He's like, ah!
And I liked Ali fighting Jason, and the fact that he used Ali as a name, that tells you he can fight, because Muhammad Ali could fight, and this Ali, this guy, he could fight too, I think. And
He didn't show that in the movie.
no, he lasted
He
about two
gets
seconds.
Jason takes him down and bludgeons him with something. I never know what it is. Like, what's the thing he hits him with?
You know what? I'm not sure either. I just saw him
Looks
hit
like
the
a
ground,
small shillelagh or something.
and that was definitely not the rumble in the jungle. This Ali got his ass handed to him.
No, he went down like Sonny Liston, bro.
He did. And poor Loco. We say goodbye to poor White Loco. Like,
Oh, poor White Loco, who was in Warlock, by the way.
well, there you go. Was he White Loco in Warlock as well?
No, I think he was Infirma.
Oh, that sucks.
If you don't speak Spanish, you don't.
I
Get it. It's
don't.
fine.
Infirma
It
is
just means sick.
sick. I speak a little bit Spanish, but not much. It went over my head. But
Loco Blanco, you got that though. At least you got that.
I have a little bit. I have a very little bit of Spanish. I used to work at Roy Rogers, and I had a group that would teach me Spanish. I could tell you you have sex on your mind and pubic hair on your head, and I said it quite well. I probably can't do it now, and it's not proper for the listening audience. I don't want to scare them away.
This is a family show, you know.
This is
We
a
shouldn't be
PG.
putting we shouldn't be putting pubic hair on our heads
Well, there you go.
or in the heads of anybody else. So they they do various 3D things, like Andy plays with a yo-yo. There's one random thing where Debbie, by the way, who's pregnant, they mention one time, and she goes, "Hey, let's go down to the water. We can be totally alone and do whatever we want." Andy goes, "That sounds disgusting."
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, I just thought that was weird. It's like, that sounds disgusting.
We do get the flashback, which is one of the best parts of this film.
Yeah.
Where Chris talks about why she is afraid, and where she met Jason, and where she fights with Jason and ends up axing him in the head, and you have that epic shot of his like arms. Am I confusing it? Was that the flashback, or is that the ending?
His
Shit.
arms?
Like he gets hit in the head with the axe, and then he.
Oh, that's the end.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The flashback is she's sitting in the woods under a tree, and Jason comes up and tries to grab her, and they struggle a little bit, and then she kind of passes out.
That's right. That's right. And so we get that flashback. We know Jason fucked with her. She was lucky to survive. She rolled the dice again, came back to Camp Blood, and now we get fucking asshole cocksucker Shelly again. Now wearing a hockey mask, and I think he jumps out of the water to scare Vera again.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm begging Jason, please kill this cocksucker. And this is epic because this is where Jason gets his look. They finally figured it out. No baghead Jason, no bald pervert Jason, no 13-year-old boy Jason. We have we have hockey mask Jason, and with this design of him being this big lumbering bald killer with the mask and being unstoppable now, I like it. I like the hockey mask, even if I had to sit through Shelly to get it.
Yeah, it is. It is very striking, and I think it was the 3D supervisor who just always had like hockey gear on him, And so while they were just sort of auditioning masks, he's just like, well, what about this hockey mask? And it's like, yep, that's the look. And it's really cool because you can kind of make out his face just like a little bit through the holes.
Yes.
But it bounces light really well too, like the color of it. So it was just like the best pick for it. And so Jason comes, Vera drops Shelly's wallet in the water after Jason is killed. Shelly slit his stupid fucking incel throat. And he comes out with a spear gun. And poor little Vera is just like a like literally fish in a barrel. And Jason comes out, shoots her in the eye with a spear gun. And then, to me, this is like quintessential Jason. He puts the spear gun down and just does this like kind of like it's a tiny little strut. He's just like, yeah, that was fucking dope. And now he just struts his way towards the main house. And that to me is like, that's the perfect Jason shot. Like I know part 6 parodies like 007, but like I'm like, yeah, that's a James Bond walk right there. Like he just looks so cool. He's got his new mask and it's like it's time to go fuck shit up. Like so iconic.
This Jason too, even though I like Kane Hodder, I think this Jason is the most like imposing Jason. Like he's quick, he's big, and he's got a great presence. Like this Jason, I would put above the Kane Hodder Jason, even though I think this is the only one that actor played Jason. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm so glad you said that because I mean I love Kane Hodder. I've met Kane Hodder. He's a great dude. I think like just sort of like feeling wise, he's probably the best Jason, like he put the most thought into it, like really kind of like did all the stunts and everything. But Richard Brooker, like pound for pound, is probably the best Jason. And he gets a lot of screen time to just be Jason, and like doing different movements and like coming downstairs and like tearing apart a barn and like he just captured something. And he's like, kind of lanky, like you said. He's like 6'2", Richard Brooker, veteran, like stuntman. He was in like Deathstalker and stuff like that. Did you ever see Deathstalker?
Oh, I may have perused it when I was 13. Yes.
He was the other guy in Deathstalker. But
Voltaire will like you. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's a good movie.
That's him. And he just really captured something in this, especially with that little walk. He's very imposing and he's fast. Like he runs. And as much as I like Ted White, Jason from the 4th one, like when he runs, you're like, okay, that's like a 60-year-old man. But like this guy, he's agile. He's like, he moves. He's kind of sporadic. He's a little unpredictable, even though he has to be like, he has to fit into the confines of 3D. Like his movement is very fluid. He kind of reminds me of the first Nick Castle, the first Michael Myers.
Yes.
There's just something about the way Nick Castle moves that makes Michael Myers scary. And it's just more human. It's more like this is a guy in a mask coming to kill you. He's not like a supernatural zombie, You're right. So yeah, I completely agree. Richard Brooker is an amazing Jason. So he makes his way back to the house where Chili and Chuck have fallen asleep on the couch like old people do.
Yep.
And then Chuck decides he's going to go out to the outhouse barefoot for some fucking reason. It's like, put on some shoes, you fucking hippie.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
That's hippies for you.
Yeah.
And he kills the 2 hippies, which really, they add nothing to the film whatsoever.
Yeah.
And also, we get Rick, who gets killed, thank God. With blue balls, mind you. And so now we have...
We'll talk about how epic that death is. So, like, Chuck gets thrown into a fuse box, fine. He gets electrocuted. Chili gets a hot fire poker through the stomach, fine. What happens to poor Rick?
If my memory's... He gets thrown through a window, doesn't he?
Well, before that, Jason puts two hands on either side of his head. And,
Oh yes, yeah, crushes that cocksucker.
oh fuck, we forgot about Debbie and Andy.
Debbie and Andy. Where's my
Debbie.
notes?
So Andy is the guy who's walking on his walking
Oh, on the
on his
hammock.
hands.
Yes.
Yeah, the hammock
Oh
kids.
my god, that handstand fucking death is
Yeah.
a killer fucking death. I love that death.
So, because first of all, I mean, how do you have sex in a hammock? Really? Have you ever tried having sex in a hammock, Geno?
With someone else?
You know what? I withdraw my question. So after they
Yes, the answer is
cause
yes.
havoc in the hammock, if you will,
Yep.
she goes to take a shower. Andy's walking on his hands down the hallway. Jason is standing right there and gives him the old machete between the legs, which is
Yes.
maybe one of the best deaths in the whole series. It's gross. It's shot really well.
It is.
And he just collapses.
You get the
And
weight
then-
of it. Like there's
Oh, I
you
know.
feel the weight. And he's a muscular guy. So having that come down right on the camera like that, you just feel like that weight coming down. That's a very, very effective shot. My goodness.
Oh yeah. And Vera gets stabbed through the hammock by a machete, so it's reminiscent of the Kevin Bacon death in the first
Very
one.
much, very much so.
All right, that's everybody. Rick gets his eye popped out by getting his head squished, and then he gets thrown through a window. By the way, how cool is like the stunts in these movies where, in this one, Rick comes flying in through the window. Same thing happens in the next one with Rob. Jason comes like busting in through the door. I love that.
Oh
I
my
know we're
God,
talking about
yes.
part 3, but in part 4, when he comes busting through the door, what a great shot. And so good. Anyway, so Chris finally realizes all of her friends are dead, and Jason starts coming after her. But Chris is not going to go quiet into that good night, my friend.
No, and I liked the fact that she did jump into the van to get away, and Jason jumped his ass right out of the way of that fucking van. Like Jason, for being unstoppable, he's like, I am not taking that fucking hit. And
there are some hills I'm willing to die on, but this is not one of them.
that Volkswagen van running 50 miles per hour at him, he said, fuck that noise. And I like that. The van, of course, as in every horror film, breaks down. And now she's head to head with Jason. And I love when he lifts the mask up. And she's like, it's you. It can't be you. It's so cool. It was a nice connection. And I wonder if Jenny was like an inspiration for this character. Like maybe Jenny was supposed to come back, and maybe Chris was created as a new character, because I could see Jenny being this character, and them kind of grooving her into the spot of coming back and trying to conquer her demons and facing Jason again. Well, what do you think?
I think the original plan for the third one was Ginny was going to go into a mental institution and Jason was going to follow her there. And then he murders all the guards and like all the patients and stuff. But Amy Steele didn't want to come back because she was working on other shit,
Yep.
So they kind of just like, and I think that's kind of a problem with this movie, was like they were scrambling, and like they had to start production like almost immediately after the last one came out, and so you got the same director over again.
Yep.
Doing another movie, basically the same movie over again, but like sort of changing it up. And I think it really shows with this that there was a bit of a rush on it. And if you're using the same director, time is going to be a factor. So like, yeah, I would say Ginny would have been better, but like Chris is okay.
I agree.
Like she really fucks Jason up in this movie. He chases her through the house and she throws books at him and she stabs him and like stabs him in the legs. You actually hear Jason like utter like he actually like screams almost in pain.
Yes,
I don't know if you caught that.
I did. I did. I loved it. The Jason in this film of being like super strong and super tough, but not being impervious to pain is cool. You know, like I mentioned, him jumping out of the way of that van. He
Yeah,
knows he'd get fucked up. He's like, I'm not. I got shit to do. I'm not getting fucked up. He'd have to
yeah.
borrow the wheelchair from Mark. Uh, and so yeah, I love
that
that.
is
I love that
that
that she
should be
fought.
that should be a slasher film. Guy in a wheelchair running around killing people. That, like, how good would that be?
Oh, that would be awesome. I would like to see that. And they've done everything else. I think it's time for a wheelchair slasher. And
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be opposed to the wheelchair being a thing of its own too, where it can have shooting knives and shit. Yeah, yeah, we can
Oh
propose
yeah,
that.
like that wheelchair from Freddy Part 3 where it like turns into like a demon chair
Oh,
or something.
yes, yes, yes.
Um so yeah, Chris like really like she hit like as Jason's coming out of the house, she like hides behind the door and like smacks him with a log. Like he goes flying off the porch. But yeah, so she gets in the van, she tries to get away. Um and she runs into the barn because everybody's gonna take a turn in the barn, you know? We only have 2 locations, guys, and we're gonna fucking use them, okay?
Yep,
So
but she
then
makes the
this is
most of it.
like and this is a great scene. This is like one of the best scenes in the series where she just does all these things. She's like hiding from them and like she's up in the rafters and Jason's just like tearing apart this barn in like a rage.
Yep.
Like you don't often see Jason like in a rage like this. So it's really interesting to watch the actor playing Jason, Richard Brooker, just like going ham on this fucking thing and throwing this and hitting that and just like Jason the Destructor,
Yeah, I
and then
agree.
Chris can't hold on anymore and she falls down on Jason like a vagina first and like totally teabags him.
Yep.
And then she runs up into the top part of the barn. She ends up hitting him with a shovel, putting a noose around his neck that poor Fox was swinging on before, and then she hangs him.
And it's
Um,
awesome.
and yes, but this is sort of where you notice the problems in editing, which I don't know if you caught this, but like when Jason is like he's kicked off the thing and he's like hanging in the air, there's like a brief few seconds where you just watch the actor just like sitting there, and then he
Oh,
starts like flailing his arms and stuff, and you're just like, okay, so he was like waiting for his cue or something,
yeah.
and it's just like just take out a few frames, and that would have looked perfect, and like there's a few scenes in here where the editing is just slightly off, just a little bit too many frames, you know. But
Yeah,
again, it was probably a rush job.
it was, and it. We have the ending, which is awesome, and kind of fucked up at the same time. So they kind of repeat the first one, in a way. They have um Chris on a boat in the lake, and she looks over at the house,
Well,
and
we gotta talk about what happens to Jason ultimately, right? Like
mhm,
Jason's like hanging there. He gets up. She sees his face. She sees that it's him who assaulted
yeah,
her before. And then
uh,
Jason's about to kill her. And who's still alive?
we have
Ali
Ollie.
comes out and does
Ollie,
just as well the second time as he did the first time against Jason.
were you going Ali Boumaye, Ali Boumaye, as
Boomaye, kill him!
kill him, Ali Boumaye, and he
He's
fucks up again.
he gets his hand cut off and is chopped up, like pretty sharpish. But then Chris takes Chekhov's axe that we established before and
Yep,
buries it in Jason's fucking forehead, man.
love it, love it,
And no matter
and
what movie it is, you always see that axe mark in the Jason mask.
yeah, and that when he lunges forward after the axe, that's a cool shot. That's epic
That
and iconic.
I can imagine that would probably be the best 3D shot to see in theaters. Jason's just like reaching out for you and he's just like trying to grab you and the axe is still buried in his head and he's still coming after you.
Yeah. Now
And
now
then
can
then
you
she goes to the canoe.
can you see, like, I'm guessing, Eric, you must be colorblind if you can't do 3D. Um Can you do the 3D like Avatar, or is that one also non working for you?
It's not working. It's just I have a depth perception issue, so I
Uh,
can't anything that's supposed to pop out of a screen. I just can't see it.
I'm gonna bring you to a 4D show. Have you ever been to a 4D show?
No.
You know what they do? It is 3D, so a lot of it, won't be good for you. But like when you go into the ocean, there's a
Yeah.
there's a mist of water that hits you, and that stuff
Oh, it's one of those.
you can enjoy the fuck out of. I went to a SpongeBob SquarePants one about 20 years ago. It was glorious.
Even before I had children.
Yeah, yeah. They kicked me out. Um, but yeah, please proceed. I'm sorry. I'm rambling.
No, so Chris gets into the canoe, uh, which you can tell is not Crystal Lake. It's like a little pond or something.
Mhm.
And she sees Jason in the top floor of the house, and he comes bursting out. But then you realize it was a dream, and she wakes up in the boat. But then Jason's like decomposed mom, who still has a head for some reason.
Yes.
Although I guess if it's a dream, she wouldn't know that his mom was decapitated. Maybe.
And how does she know what she looks like anyway?
No idea.
Okay.
Maybe they had pictures of her. I don't know. So she comes out and drags her under the water, much like the first movie. And then Chris is sort of carted away, and she's, as you can see, is traumatized and kind of going insane a little bit, laughing to herself and screaming and yelling. And then we cut to a shot of Jason in the barn. What a great shot too. Um,
Love it.
this whole movie is so well shot. Like I was just looking at like the establishing shot of the convenience store, and it starts off high, and then it like kind of like jibs down and goes through the laundry, and you're just like, wow, how the fuck did you guys get that shot? You know, it was like it's
Mhm.
like a wide, and then it like goes into a close up of the sheets and where Jason is, and it's just like that was just like such a neat little shot. You know, so
It,
like technically the camera work of this is really good. But what did you think of the movie overall?
Loved it. I this is one of my favorites of the Friday the 13th series. It does have a lot of overlap from the last two. They do repeat shit. It does happen, but and I did hate Shelley with a passion. I wish Shelley wasn't a character in it. But Jason, fuck, Jason is so imposing in this and scary. Like you said, he's quick. The deaths are awesome. This is as much as there's some silliness in this and some cringiness in this. For all the young people out there, it's cringe. I know you say that, so you can see I'm cool. Um, there is some cool frantic scariness in this. I love the ending when he breaks through the door, when he's smiling through the window, and he's like so eager. He's almost like a dog, eager to attack something. And Brooker killed this role. Chris, the actress, was awesome. And I think obviously the mother jumping out of the lake at the end, they went to the well one too many times. It didn't have any impact. The impact was Brooker coming out. I highly recommend this film. I think it's one of the better Jason films. Eric, what do you think?
Watching it this time, I definitely don't like it as much as I used to. I still think this is one of the best endings. I love the work that Richard Brooker was doing, and just like how badly like Chris like fucked Jason up in this. Just like, you know, it wasn't a kick in the balls. It was like she stabbed him in the hand and in the leg and hit him with a log and hit him with a shovel and hung him and like put the axe in his head. Like it's so frantic. The whole end of this is so frantic,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I still think it's one of the better endings. It's definitely one of the best Jasons, if not the best Jason. But the characters don't really hold up. The writing is actually pretty bad. And like like this is where we start getting into like caricature territory, where
Yeah.
I think that the next one sort of course corrects a little bit and isn't as off the wall as this one.
Yeah.
But like it definitely shows that this was sort of a rush job. The directing isn't as good as the last one, and it's not as good as the next one. But like this one is just sort of like it doesn't live up to sort of my memory of it as a kid. But it's definitely a good one, and Jason is like still scary to me in these ones. I know you and I are sort of split. Like I like these ones much more than I like the later ones. And
Right.
you love like part 6, part 7,
Yes. Even part
part
8.
8. Yeah,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
like those are your favorites. These are mine. These feel like much more like exploitation films, and like much more like dirty, gritty, like kind of like slashers of that time, like Prowler and Burning and stuff. And Jason is like running around like and is actually pretty scary at
Yeah.
times.
So you would
And
recommend 3.
I would. I would. It's fun, but it's definitely not as quaint or charming as the second one, and it's not nearly as good as the fourth one. But like, I would say it's a must watch. If you're gonna watch the series, but it's not essential viewing. Like 2 and 4 are probably like that line, but the ending of this is so fucking good.
Now, if you were to rank these 3, I know what number 1 is for you, but how would you rank them as far as quality, entertainment value, all that good stuff? If someone came to you and said, "Which how should I watch them? What do you think are the best in order of these 3?" What would you say?
I would say 2, 3, and then 1. 1 is almost skippable, but
Yep.
3 is definitely entertaining, but it doesn't put it all together like the second one does. So, Geno,
Yeah.
what would you say your ranking is?
3, 2, 1. I think 3. It's just so much fun. It's very entertaining. There are things in it that irritate me. Obviously, Shelly and the guy with the eyeball. Number 2, I think you have some very valid points. Better acting, better screenplay. Um, but the fun factor makes up for it in the third. Number
Yeah.
1 was just I think they just said let's just throw something together and see if it does anything. And Jesus Christ, it fucking made $40 million. So yeah, let's do something again. And in case our listening audience is wondering, this film was made on $2 million, which followed the pattern of twice as much budget than the last, and it made $37 million. Paramount had a cash cow, and
Mhm.
Jason was born, and it's a you there is nothing like it. Like you had Jason and Freddy, and Halloween, but now there's nothing that's comparable to the 80s influx of horror icon greatness. And this is kind of like they said Halloween is super quality stuff. We're going to give you the McDonald's and see if you like it. And you know what? I fucking love it. Um and
Well,
everyone else loved it.
let me ask you this. So, why Friday the 13th? Like, what do you think about the first one specifically? Like, what do you think was it about that movie that made it so successful and not like like a Savage Weekend or, any of the other intervening ones between Halloween and Friday the 13th?
I think it had a few things. Like one, obviously it's relatable. It's camping. It's and people have a fear of the woods. People fear getting lost in the woods. So even though that was kind of prevalent in like Savage Weekend, this had there was a certain tone to Friday the 13th, and they understood marketing. Like they really promoted it well, and it felt like a drive-in movie. And so and the ending was unique. There's not been an ending like that ever. So I think it had charm. It had a lot of like heart in it, and the ending, even if you like forget the 50 minutes of nothingness, the ending you walk away saying, holy shit, a woman, an older woman at that, is the killer. And Betsy Palmer played the shit out of it. So I think that's what did it. Savage Weekend is good. It just doesn't have it. And so yeah, I'm not. And they built on this. Like I think even though Madman and The Burning weren't the financial successes, they had a foundation to really build on. This one kind of like built on nothingness. We're like, what are we gonna do? We made all this money and we need a sequel, but Betsy Palmer is dead, and I'm sure someone's like, hey, we could have headless Betsy Palmer chasing people, and they finally said, what if Jason was alive, and that launched it all. So, I think it's just charming. I think it's got charm, and it's got a vibe. I think that's what sold it. What do you think?
I think it was pretty unique because it combined the special effects stuff. Like the kills were a little more abundant than in Halloween. Halloween takes a little while to get going in terms of like the actual like second act killings. This
Yes,
one is just like, here's a killing, here's a killing, here's a killing. That's some, fun kids having fun, and here's a killing, here's a killing. And I think it just kind of gave audiences what they want. It's a fun movie. It's a fun little movie that I think people could get behind, and I think it's much more like, whereas Halloween's like an art movie, I
it
would
is.
I would put
Yep,
it like as high art. This is much more entertainment popcorn flick. You
it
you're
is.
not
Yep.
a, you don't have to think a lot about this movie. And I mean, please don't think a lot about this movie. It's gonna suffer for it. But it's yeah, it's just it took the theme of Halloween and just had a more of a high concept thing to it. Killer in the Woods. That's all you need to know. That's all this movie's about. And I think people really responded to that.
Yeah, it's
It's
a
like
winner.
I always look at it like, if you compare slasher films to superhero movies, whereas like Halloween is kind of like X-Men,
Yep.
this movie's more like Spider-Man, where it's like, here's the formula and here's what we can fucking do with it. And
Yep.
people really just flock to this one. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I agree, and also something that um might need some mentioning is Jason is a sympathetic killer because you are going from a kid that was like drowned in a lake because of people having sex, and throughout the
They were making
series,
love while that young boy drowned.
and through the series, he was like still that little boy in that head there. Even up to Jason versus Freddy, he was still just this confused killing machine. So there's that, and also like you brought up the kills. The kills are very memorable, and I'm not familiar with Betsy Palmer's body of work, but I know she was established at the time, and to get
Yeah.
an established actress into a exploitation film like this, it meant something, and
Hmm.
she sold the shit out of it. Um, and I'm sure people were shocked by it, like, oh my god, she's the killer, and so it was word of mouth. You gotta check this movie out.
Yeah.
You won't believe it. And so yeah, great stuff, great trio of
Yeah.
movies, and and for me, like rewatching these, I watched them over a couple nights. It was so pleasant just to sit back and enjoy these films for what they are and what they spawn, because Jason is still a character that studios are trying to bring back because they can't figure out how to make another one. And
Well,
and
yeah.
and
Hopefully they've resolved the rights issue that's going on between Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller. That's why we haven't seen any sort of Friday the 13th anything in, like, oh my God, it's been like 16 years.
yeah, 2009 was the
They're
last one.
making they're making a TV show by A24 called Crystal Lake or something like that. So hopefully we'll see some more Jason in the future. This is one of those series where I think, yeah, I would love to see more of it. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, me too. Me too. So we hope everyone enjoyed Memory Lane with these three Jason films. Believe me, we are not done with the series. And any final thoughts, my friend?
Yeah. You know what I think is so special about these movies, Gino?
What's that?
It's got a death curse.
Yeah, and also what I think is so epic about these films is they're jinxed. So everyone, we will see you next time. Keep it real. Watch out for Jason. Watch out for Shelly. And and we apologize to anyone who jerks off in wheelchairs.
Subject to changes, nothing stays the same. Life keeps spinning in this endless game. Grab your worries, throw them to the flame. Stay tuned.